You know, when you think about software getting hacked, you probably picture a coder making some tiny mistake, right? Like a typo that brings the whole system down. But what if the problem is much, much deeper than that? What if the real weakness isn't a bug in the code, but a massive flaw in the original plan? That's exactly what we're diving into today, the hidden danger of insecure design. Okay, to really get this, let's think about it in a totally different way. Imagine an architect is hired to design a brand new bank. They get obsessed with the beautiful teller windows, the comfy lobby, but they completely, totally forget to think about security. They just forget that thieves even exist. And this right here just lays it all out plain and simple. A good blueprint, it's got layers. You've got guards, a vault, ID checks. The insecure one, well, it's got a single front door. No cameras, no real plan for who can go where. And hey, once a thief is in, the whole place is theirs. This is the physical version of insecure design. All right, so let's step out of that bank for a minute and move from the physical blueprint to a digital one. What does this concept actually look like when we're talking about software? So here's the official take. Insecure design is all about flaws in the actual architecture and logic of a system. These are vulnerabilities that are created during the planning phase, way before a single line of code is even written. It means critical security controls were never even part of the plan to begin with. And I love this quote. It just nails it. It's not a sloppy paint job or a misplaced wire. It's a crack in the foundation. See, a mistake during construction, a simple coding bug, you can usually patch that up. But a flawed blueprint, man, that requires tearing everything down and starting over. It's a huge deal. So how does this even happen? Well, a lot of the time, it starts with a simple failure to just brainstorm what could go wrong. It's a process called threat modeling. It also happens when security is treated like an optional extra, not a core requirement. And sometimes the whole design is just a fragile house of cards, making it pretty much impossible to truly secure. Okay, so this isn't just some abstract idea. Let's look at a real-world disaster that shows just how catastrophic insecure design can be. I'm talking about the massive 2017 Equifax data breach. Now, the attackers first got in through a known bug, and yeah, that's bad. But listen to this. It was the insecure design that turned that tiny crack into a complete disaster. For months, they just roamed around the network, completely unseen, grabbing more and more sensitive data. And the result of all this? The personal, sensitive information of 147 million people was exposed. I mean, that number is it's mind-boggling. And it all traces right back to those initial design choices made years before. So let's break down exactly what went wrong with the blueprint here. There was no data segmentation, basically no walls inside the system. Once attackers were in, they could go anywhere. The logging was so bad, it was like having no security cameras at all. And remember our bank analogy? There was no defense in depth. It was just one simple door, and behind it were the crown jewels. Okay, that was the disaster. So how do we stop this from ever happening again? How do we build a digital fortress by getting the blueprint right from day one? Well, it really boils down to three core ideas, three pillars. First, you have to do threat modeling. You've got to think like the bad guys. Second, security can't be an afterthought. It has to be a non-negotiable requirement. And third, you have to build a secure architecture from the ground up using principles that we know work. So what does that threat modeling thing actually look like? Well, a really common way to do it is with a method called STRIDE. It's basically a simple checklist to get you asking the right questions. Can someone pretend to be a legit user? Can they mess with the data? Can they crash the whole system? By asking these questions early, you can build your defenses in from the start. All right, let's bring this home with a super simple example we've all seen, resetting a password. The insecure way, it relies on those easily guessed security questions and lets you try forever. The secure design, it uses multi-factor authentication, locks you out after a few bad tries, and the reset link dies after 30 minutes. Same feature, totally different and way safer blueprint. And all of this really leads to one single crucial lesson for anyone building anything in the digital world. Trying to fix these kinds of design flaws later on is always the hardest, most expensive path to take. Think about it. You can't just decide to add a massive bank vault to a house that's already built. You'd have to tear down walls, pour a new foundation. It would be a huge, messy, expensive reconstruction project. It's the exact same thing with software. So here it is, the big takeaway. Security has to be an ingredient, not a garnish. It's got to be bulked into the design from the very start. You can't just sprinkle it on top at the end and hope for the best. It just doesn't work. And that really leaves us with one last question to think about. All those apps, all those websites and systems you use every single day, are they built on solid ground? Or are they sitting on a flawed blueprint just waiting to crack?